video, and we're getting good levels, I think. Okay, folks, let me get your attention over here, and we're gonna go back to our rock assignments. You don't need the rocks right now because I'm going to catch you back up. But what we're doing here, remember, is we're working on photorealistically modeling these rocks, right? So we want to make them so that they look in there like they look in here. And I'm going to walk us through where we're at with this, and then I'm going to move on to something called subdivided surface modeling. Has anyone ever heard of that before? Nobody ever heard of it? Some people have heard of it, yes. It's sometimes called subdies. I think it's still probably the most popular, it's the most popular modeling technique. It is actually not the most leading edge. And the only reason I say that is there's another modeling technology that we won't necessarily cover because it's actually used in other software. But with that said, subdivided surfaces changed the way most things we use and interact with every day. I don't want to say forever because that's a very long time, but almost everything we see around us that's been made in the last 10 years has been modeled using the technology we're going to talk about this week, which is called subdivided surfaces. And what's interesting about subdivided surfaces to me is that it's actually a very old technology. It's a technology that was one of the earlier 3D modeling technologies, except computers couldn't do it. They theorized it, but they really didn't have computers that could do it. So it wasn't until the early 2000s computers got powerful enough to do it. Now, let me walk you through what we're doing here. I have my rock in front of me here. I'm going to pick a top and a front and a side. I'm going to start with a primitive, and I'm going to start with a primitive cube. And with this rock the way it is, I'm going to give it a couple of subdivisions so I can move things around a little bit. We'll say 3, 3, and 3 like that. Now I'm going to start using keyboard equivalents, one hand on the mouse, one hand on the keyboard, and holding down my S key. I'm going to back out here. Let's switch to an OpenGL view. And I'm going to start manipulating points, edges, and polygons, which is what we talked about last week. First off, I'm going to go to point mode, select the object again, point mode, select these top points here, and I'm going to scale that selection with my X key like this, let's say, and I'm going to rotate that whole selection as well, although I want to rotate it from a local coordinate, because this is going to make it more like what I want it to be, and I'm looking at my rock at the same time here. I'm also going to translate the whole thing a bit like that. Let me take this next row of points here, and I'll translate those in relation, and I'll also rotate them. Probably a bit like that. Something like that. And very rapidly you get into this situation where I want to do something like an edge over here, and I need more detail. And this is where this notion of subdividing a surface came in. A good thing about subdivided surfaces or subdies is that it is exactly what it sounds like. People were working on something and realized they wanted to put more detail in it. So they would subdivide the surface. It's nothing more complicated than that. Any of the tools we have that allow us to add more detail to a model are a subdivision technique. And let's start to look at some of them. We're also going to introduce a concept called modal menus. Menus we're familiar with, right? They hang up there. They're like menus of food, except they're not food. They're other stuff. Modal menus, they're just menus that change based on what mode you're in. Now, I am in a point mode right now, and I'm going to select actually just one point, just as an example here, and I'm going to hit the F key and frame it up. If I hit my right mouse button over here, I'm going to get a menu. It looks like that. If I hit my right mouse button near the point, I'm going to get a different menu. This is a modal menu. This menu will do things to that point. And I'm going to show you one of our first subdivision techniques, which is called a bevel. A bevel, if you've ever, like a beveled edge of a table, like this is a beveled edge. It's where you have a sharp edge and you shave off the edge. If I bevel a point, I'm on that point, I'm going to go down to bevel components and watch what happens. It shaves off the edge. At the same time it did it, it gave me a couple more points. See that? I have a control in the bevel. I can change the distance of the bevel. Rounding doesn't let me do anything right now, so I won't even think about it that much. I'm actually going to, which I always do when I'm lost in these things, I'm going to do a new scene. New scene. Because I'm going to start with a simpler example and then go through these tools, then go back to making my rock. Because we can always start again, right? I'm going to put in just a cube, polygon mesh cube. Hit the A key, frame it all up. I'm going to go into point mode again, and let's select 4 points. I'm going to right mouse click near them, and I'm going to hit bevel. And when we do all 4 of them, you will see, strangely, the surface starts to get a little bit rounder. Do you see that? Where it places the points is going to tend towards curviness. This is an attribute of a subdivided surface model. Note also when I picked them, it gave me a selection of the new points. If I were to do it again, right mouse click, bevel, it gets more towards roundness. See that? And if I wanted to do it again even, it gets more towards roundness again. It is, isn't it? If I deselect, you'll see, I'm going to hit the space bar, deselect like that. You'll see that the model is very different now, but it has a lot more detail. It's a harder thing to manipulate. If I go into it and I go to edge mode now, it's trickier to select. I'm going to hit a draw through mode, F9. It's trickier to select the edges I want because I have more detail to pick, see? You know. Is there like a general, I want all of this? Yes, yes, yes. And actually, if I'm in edge mode now, I'm going to deselect that. I can say, I'll do it in this view. If I do that, that should lasso. No, I won't do it in that view. I'll deselect again. I'll try it. I should do it like that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not in the lasso mode. I'm in the draw through mode. This should allow me to get everything, yes. And I'll go like that. This should allow me to get just this stuff, which is good. And I could even with the control key, I can try and deselect that, but it's probably going to be ugly if I do it. No, that's not too bad. And I have the upper half of that now if I wanted to. Now, just to show you also, I'm going to take a different selection. Let me, in edge selection mode, I'm going to lose my grid. I'm going to F9, select this edge, and I'm going to hit my right mouse button again, which is going to give me a different modal menu. When I was in point mode, my menu, if I had points selected, gives me things I can do to points. If I'm in edge mode, my menu gives me things I do to edges. If I bevel an edge, bevel components, it does that. See that? I have a whole bunch more controls now too, by the way. See that? Let's see what we have. We can change the center of it. That gives me different results, right? What else do we have? Rounding. We can turn on rounding, which actually makes it rounder. And you'll see each time I make it rounder, it gets more detail, which means it will be more complicated to work on. Here's a general guideline when you're doing any sort of subdivided surface modeling. You start with a simple shape, a primitive, oftentimes a cube, but it could be another primitive too, and then you add just enough detail. You don't want to add way too much detail because then you have more work to do later. So you try to slowly add detail as you work towards the shape of your object. I'm going to leave that like that, and now let me go to polygon mode, just so we can see that. I will Select this here, and let's select a couple polygons. We'll select this one. We'll select this one and this one, the ones on opposite sides. You know what, and that one, why not? And I'm going to bevel those. Right mouse click, different menu, bevel. And again, questions, you can ask any questions you have. Notice it says 2 tabs.
How are you beveling the surface instead of a corner?
Take a look. See what it did? It actually literally takes all the edges of the surface and then makes new geometry based on that. And I can undo it if you want to see it again.
As a shared corner, did it not bevel that because it's a shared corner?
Where, over here?
Yes.
That's a good question. And the answer is yes. These property panels, they tend to have anything you can possibly do to this operation. Plus, in my experience, the soft demolish property panels literally have anything you can do mathematically. So that's a good question. Why didn't that bevel? If I do this, maybe not that. If I do, let's see this one. That one? Oh, that's ugly as sin. But it did give me some more bevel there. And let's see if we manage collisions, if that looks a little better now. So based on the way it's done, you will get different results. Another thing that's worth remembering here, these sliders are suggested values. So from 0, which is just the same as it was when it started, to 2, and they're talking about 2 grid units here, I can enter a higher value, 5. And if it takes it, it takes it. If it doesn't, it will just error back to the other one. And you see this has collisions all over the place. Let's see if we manage collisions, what it does.
What if the entire surface area is grid value and is like 10 and you enter that? Will it just round off this area until the center?
Let's find out. File, new scene, because remember, just do a new scene whenever you're lost. And actually, it's a good way to figure this stuff out. Polygon mesh cube. I'll go to polygon mode. Let's go to OpenGL.
You're almost as bad as I am with Explorer tabs.
It's what?
You're almost as bad as I am with Explorer tabs.
What you mean with opening things?
Yeah, opening new tab, new tab, new tab, new tab.
Well, it's very important in a program like this. Especially, you have to experiment. You don't find any of this stuff out. I may have never done this before, so this is not a bad way to find out. But whenever I'm trying to figure out something, especially something simple, I take a simple example and I try it in the program. It's the only way to make any distance on it. Let's right mouse it and let's do the bevel. And that's the default bevel, which doesn't look any different at all. Let's change, let's turn off manage collisions and see if that does anything different. Not even remotely different. Let's try that. Let's try that.
But now they're all shared corners.
Yeah, and it looks pretty unhappy with it. Why? I don't rightly know.
Just like choose one surface.
You know what else? It could have also, it's very possible that this crashed on me too, because that can happen. I'm not, I'm going to do a new scene, and let's try primitive polygon mesh cube. We will try, let's try opposing, let's try 3 surfaces, F9, like that. I'm going to go to polygon mode, select these 3 surfaces, and the other ones aren't selected. I'll right mouse those and bevel them, and I think we got a slight difference already, right? So that sort of makes sense how it's beveling the whole thing. We make it bevel further. If we look right, that should be 2 grid units away. See that says 2? This is 0, and that should be a distance of 2 grid units of whatever it's doing. That can be hard to tell sometimes. I'm going to turn off manage collisions, and let's see if that does anything different. Let's try rounding it. And rounding it literally does round it. See that? Sharpness is how closely it follows that curve. And here's something where I might want to actually lessen this, but it's a shape I might want to mess around with, who knows. And you can play with these and see. That's actually interesting. I didn't know they had that feature.
See what you're learning with the TK?
Yeah. And these things can pile up. Like if I like that, even if I don't like that, I can go to point mode, and I can, I'm going to hit F7, I'm going to select this point, and I will bevel just that point. which I like that. And then I will take these 3 edges, like that, and let's bevel those edges. Bevel, 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 bevel. And you see I have a much more complex object, and let's round that a little like that. That's okay, it does that. And an interesting thing about this, remember when I said everything around us? Every manufactured object around us made in the last 20 or so years has been affected by this technology. The hallmark of a subdivided surface model is curved surfaces with sharp edges in them. And like if you look at that projector up there, that was designed with subdivided surface modeling. If you look at these monitors right here, they were designed with subdivided surface modeling. If you look at this remote control, actually, oh yeah, no, this remote control, yes, over here, subdivided surface modeling. The mouse, subdivided surface modeling. That sharp edge there and these edges here, like they scream subdivided surface modeling. It becomes, when these techniques get, when they're in, again, this was invented a long time ago, but after it was invented, they finally got computers that could do it. Then when they got computers that could do it, people started designing really high-end stuff in it, so then everyone else wanted to design stuff that way. You know, cars are always a very good example. And I think most cars have parts of this, but one in particular, which actually is considered not that attractive, but is a very good example of these curves with hard edges in them. And by the way, the bevel, do you see that right there? That right there and that right there, those are point bevels. And they're here. And if you look all over this car, if you look all over all sorts of devices, you find them. They what?
Oh my God, they're everywhere.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, headlights, you see them in headlights all the time. You see them in these lights here. If you go out in the parking lot, you'll find them all over the place. If you look at phones all over the place, they'll have stuff like this, the way that that's cut out there. Now, let's go back to the rock quickly and see how we can apply this to the rock quick. And then I'm going to have you try this for a bit, and then we're gonna work for a bit, and then we'll show you some more subdivided surface techniques to see how much further we can get. So I'm going to do a new scene. I'm working with this cube, or not this cube, but this rock. So I'm going to start with a primitive, and actually I'm going to start with a cylinder, because I think a cylinder is going to get me closer to what I want to do. And I want to make it bigger that way a bit. And I'll change the height a bit, but I'm going to change the number of subdivisions to probably that. Should we go that low? Yeah, actually, why not start there? It's as good a way as any. I'll give it no subdivisions here, and I'll give it no subdivisions there. Yeah. And I'm going to start here. And I'm going to hit my wireframe, real-time shaded, OpenGL. Let's start modifying bits of it. First off, I'm going to need another surface, I know. And so if I decide this is going to be my top, I'm going to put another surface on the back here. Probably the easiest way to do that with my bevel. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll take my polygon. I will hit F9. I'll select this. Oh, no, even easier than that. I'm going to take this edge, and I'm going to bevel it. Bang. And that's going to give me another surface to work with. And we can already see here how we're getting closer to what we want to do. I'm going to take the points on the top. I'm going to hit F7, which gives me a square selection. Grab all those points. Let's rotate them to make a surface like that. And let's scale that surface as well, like that. And I'm already getting further with a bevel. I need to put something along an edge here. And what's probably the easiest way to do it? I'm going to show you another tool since we're here. It's another subdivision tool that's called the knife tool. And it does hang off the menus, but you don't have to use it off the menus. I'm going to go to object mode. You know what? I'm not. I'm going to go to polygon mode. These polygons selected, and then the left bracket right there. When I do it, see how I get this thing that looks like a knife? When I get that knife, I click in one place and I click in another, and it makes me a slice on just that geometry. Hey, Deanne. Which is exactly where I want to be, actually. I'm going to select just that edge, F9, put that there, and let's translate that edge out a little bit like this. And I'll also scale that edge a bit. Let's see, where's my scaler? There's my scaler. Like that, and you'll see I'm getting closer to the shape of my rock already, right? Yes? Okay, folks, let's try this. Get your rocks, go to your machines, and try to use some of these new subdivision techniques, okay? So go ahead, come up, and I will pause this video, and we'll talk more about these videos momentarily.